Yes!
Zawolik News Network, where history happens. Hello and welcome to ZNN. I'm your host, Bob Goodman. Last episode, we saw the ending of the French Revolution leave France in chaos. Kind of like any city that's controlled by Democrats today. Damn liberals want to get rid of police to make a point. Who are we supposed to call when there's any trouble? Nancy Pelosi ain't coming to save me, and even if she would, I wouldn't let her make it past my front lawn. Ding dong ditch that, you pinko. Sorry, those left-wing radicals really grind my gears. And that is exactly how many of the French felt after their revolution. They wanted peace and stability that the government wasn't providing. Anyways, today's big idea is during the age of Napoleon Bonaparte took control of the government and attempted to address issues in France through order and conquest. You could say that he was trying to make France great again, but it never was to begin with. Today's guiding question, or GQ, asks what actions were taken to address issues in France and to what extent did those actions fix those problems? Before we begin to answer this, let's first look at the historical context, or what was going on at the time.
2 days later, Robespierre became the final victim of the monstrous terror and paranoia he had created. Many historical accounts of the revolution end here with the death of Robespierre and his terror. But the revolution officially continued for another 5 years, until 1799. So what happened between now and then? Well, after the fall of Robespierre, a more moderate political group called the Thermidorians took control of the convention. They wanted to restore stability to the government. Now, Robespierre's allies and other radicals who had fueled the terror themselves became the target of political suppression. Bourgeois street fighters took on the radical sans-culottes in the streets during a period named the White Terror. In 1795, the Thermidorians drafted a new constitution and created a government called the Directory, with the purpose of preventing power from being able to fall into the hands of a single individual again. As this new government was being established, royalists who wanted to bring the monarchy back to France saw this moment as an opportunity to strike. They staged an insurrection in Paris and battled with the National Guard in the streets. Luckily, one Napoleon Bonaparte happened to be in Paris at the time, and he took control of the situation, firing on the crowd and putting down the insurrection. From this moment on, the people of Paris would never again be able to stage a popular uprising and lost their control over the revolution. For his actions, Napoleon became a general and was sent to take control of the French armies in Italy. The new Directory remained a fairly ineffective government for the remainder of the revolution. It was plagued with corruption and struggled to keep the economy afloat, and as a result, wasn't very popular. For the people of France, with the strict social customs of both royalist France and the terror gone, they didn't really know what to do with themselves. Men no longer removed their hats when talking to women, different classes began intermingling, and a publication began circulating that looked a lot like a modern dating app. It was social anarchy.
that we know who Napoleon Bonaparte is, we can answer today's guiding question, or GQ. What actions were taken to address issues in France, and to what extent did those actions fix those problems? I'm not gonna lie, Napoleon was a beast. Man came pretty close to taking over the world. Now that's a scary thought. If we were controlled by France today, you better believe I would be ordering freedom fries with my burger. Ain't nothing French about my food, I'll tell you what. Napoleon ended the revolution after launching a coup d'etat. That's French for, I'm taking over.
Anarchy. Outside of France, the war continued. In 1795, France took the Netherlands, where they set up a puppet state. Then they negotiated both Prussia and Spain out of the war. The British attempted to land French royalists in the west to reinforce rebellion, but that plan failed. In 1796, the French planned a three-pronged attack with the aim of marching on Vienna and knocking Austria out of the war. The two northern armies were defeated and forced to retreat. However, Napoleon in the south, with groundbreaking military strategy, won battle after battle after battle. He pushed the Austrians out of Italy and began closing in on Vienna. The Austrians freaked out, and Napoleon oversaw the signing of a peace treaty. He had almost single-handedly knocked Austria out of the war, and by the way, he was only 28, so maybe it's about time you moved out of your mom's basement. Napoleon became a famed hero among the French people, but his aspirations were still higher. On his return to Paris, Napoleon found himself to be extremely popular, and the government extremely unpopular, and he started getting some power-hungry ideas. Conveniently, a politician named Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès approached Napoleon and said, "Hey man, since you're so popular, do you want to help me stage a coup?" "Great idea. Let's stage a coup, and then I'll coup you." What? Napoleon, with the help of his politician brother, entered the government chamber, possibly got punched in the face, and finally his troops intimidated the council to dissolve the government and create a new constitution that basically made Napoleon a dictator. So there you have it, the French Revolution, born with the great promise of liberty and equality. The common people dared challenge an oppressive system that had existed for centuries. But before they knew it, they found liberty sidelined by terror, equality that possibly didn't quite hit the mark, and an absolute monarchy replaced by an absolute dictator. Napoleon began stabilizing French society. He restored the Catholic Church and got rid of that crazy calendar, among other things. But he remained ever ambitious. He was France's first consul, but he slept soundly at night dreaming of being something even bigger. Napoleon's expansionist aspirations, combined with the ongoing conflict in Europe, would eventually lead the continent into a huge conflict known today as
C'est la guerre. They will take the high road, and I will take the low road, and I will be in Scotland before them. Hey, Doc. Doc. Who, me? Come here a minute. Where you putting the artillery? There. Here. No, here. I am the Emperor, and I say here. Isn't that a coincidence? That's just where I decided it should be. The Emperor makes the decisions around here. It will go there. Okay, it goes there. The plans are perfect. I will conquer the world. The plans are ruined! Guard! Les saboteurs! Les spies!
Today's big idea answered the guiding question, what actions were taken to address issues in France, and to what extent did those actions fix those problems? You didn't even have to watch today's episode to answer that question. I mean, it's France. That's all the evidence you need right there. That's it for today. This is Bob Goodman signing off. And that's the big idea. Talk about showing up to the dance with 2 left feet and an ugly pair of shoes.
The big idea!